Hello and welcome to Fatlogic Friday. There's a lot of Fatlogic today, so I hope you've come prepared with your favorite beverage. I had a few false starts with recording this episode, so I am thankful for the extra time to gather the posts together and sit down for the reading. Giving voice to these posts actually puts a bit of a strain on my throat, but I hope I'm getting better with the recording and that it's all worthwhile. I find myself floored regularly with just how many mental gymnastics are done in order to get this typed out in the first place. This week we have posts, and more posts, but also some Taylor Swift and some thoughts on the Brendan Fraser the Whale. In any case, there's quite a bit in store, so on to the posts. Thin privilege is getting in and out of your car in a crowded parking lot. If that's thin privilege, then that's setting the bar very, very low. Getting confidence from clothing can be great. For example, a trans person wearing clothing that fits their gender identity, a butch woman wearing clothing that matches their butch identity, or a goth person expressing themselves with goth clothing. But if you are getting confidence from shapewear like Spanx or something, which its entire purpose is to take away the characteristics of fatness like rolls and folds and larger stomachs, then you are getting confidence from being thin or being in closer proximity to thinness. That, my friends, is fat phobia. Whether internalized or not, it's fat phobia. It's contributing to the fat phobic beauty standards, beliefs, and practices in this society. It is making sure that thin privilege and the weight loss industry stay alive and well. Do not let society and people who benefit from fat people's oppression make you feel confidence from shrinking your body. You are letting those industries win. You are letting fat phobia win. And you are hurting yourself. If you feel confidence from making your body smaller, that is not a healthy relationship with your body. Please think about the reasons you are using shapewear, specifically shapewear designed to make your body look thinner before you use it. And if you have a bigger body, please know that you going out in public and letting your body exist unapologetically helps other bigger people do the same. And oftentimes you will look beautiful just because of your wonderful audacity to say F you to society's will to control your body. Okay, so let me get this straight. A person is allowed to have confidence in their body, the way they want, and in a way that actually makes them feel better about themselves, so long as it doesn't hurt your feelings. Those are some strange standards you have. I'm guessing you either can't afford shapewear, or haven't found anything that actually makes you look better, and now you don't want anyone else to benefit. Just a guess.
The phrase fat people are at a higher risk for should always be followed by, of course that could very likely be because of weight stigma, weight cycling, and healthcare inequalities.
I don't think you have any idea how you sound right now. I really wish I had health insurance. Parenting with diet culture. You can choose one piece of Halloween candy per day. Parenting without diet culture. Today for dinner, we are having mac and cheese, milk, broccoli, and candy. You can have as much as you want. Let your child self-regulate. If your child seems out of control around their candy, this is good information for you that you have probably been too restrictive around candy in the past. No, this isn't due to restriction or diet culture. Many people wouldn't consider monitoring a child's food intake as a diet as much as simply instilling better habits around food early. It's common sense, not dieting. The habits we pick up younger stick with us throughout time. A little fun with candy every now and again is fine, but at the end of the day, it's all about moderation.
Dear thin/average size people, people your size and weights are not invincible and very commonly get health issues that are wrongly associated with being a higher weight. It's only surprising to hear about thin/average size people getting health issues like diabetes or having heart issues, for example, because you view health through a very fat-hating lens. Being a higher weight does not cause or put you at a higher risk of health issues than the average/lower weight. Medical and societal weight stigma itself is the main cause of health risks to higher weight people. Thin privilege in a systemically fat-hating society is what allows thin/average people to have better treatment and better quality of life.
It's not fat-hating stigma, it's concern, because even if what you say about weight had any truth, it's still not great to carry large amounts of weight on you. I'm sure someone with better medical knowledge than myself could probably point out what is truly wrong here, but from my own personal experience, I've known a good few people who were wrongly diagnosed and improperly treated. It isn't a stigma. The body is complex and signals for problems can sometimes be vague or even masquerade as signs of other diseases. And if it's buried in common issues associated with fat, I can only imagine it would be more difficult to detect than in someone who's more readily presenting issues. Like I said, I'm sure someone with more knowledge could say better, but for myself it doesn't feel like a risk worth taking. 99.9995% of eating disorders wouldn't exist if anti-fatness, fat phobia, sizeism, fatmesia, fat hate wasn't a thing. There, I said it. Oh no, she said it. Also, there's that fatmesia word again. For those who don't know, it's just another word for fat phobia.
When will people realize that human beings are not supposed to have flat stomachs? We aren't even supposed to have six-packs. Well, maybe a drink here or there, but we're supposed to have a little meat on our bones. Having a spare tire isn't unhealthy at all. It's what we're naturally supposed to look like. As long as it's not like a monster truck tire. Not only are the weight goals the media forces on people unrealistic, they're extremely unhealthy.
Yes, we're supposed to have some fat. That's why it isn't 0% body fat. Otherwise, this just sounds like excuses and compromises. And no, you really shouldn't have to aim for a perfect body. The following posts have a lot to do with one theme. We will make a game out of this and see if we can spot the common theme. I will read all the posts out, and at the end I will reveal the theme. Trigger warning, ED mention. There's something so angering about a very thin woman posting this to likely reference her disordered eating. I don't care if it was just Taylor Swift's worst nightmare or her intrusive thoughts. It's fatphobic and was at best deeply unnecessary to have in the effing video. No matter what she intended, this poses fatness as a nightmare scenario, as an intrusive thought, without any interrogation of, this is fatphobic, or fat is normal. It's just a side plot, a scary reference. It's cheap she put this in so uncritically with such a large audience. I wish people knew that most things they reflexively refer to as body dysmorphia is actually fat phobia. Like living in a fatphobic hurts everyone. Come on, let's fight this together. Def could have done without the blatant fat phobia in Taylor Swift's anti-hero music video. Watching a successful white woman express her deep insecurities of being fat is grossly tone deaf, and I get it. She's recovering from an eating disorder. Body dysmorphia is a mind F, but so are a lot of people in larger bodies. Frankly, I'm so over fatness being perpetually used as a failure. She's continuing the narrative that being fat is the absolute worst, most shameful thing that you could become. The fat equals bad and thin equals good. It's actively doing harm. Just stepping on the scale in the video told us what we needed to know. She could have chosen any other word. Fat isn't a feeling. I don't know. I have a lot of feels about this and it makes me aggro. As an actual fat person, genuinely, how are we supposed to feel seeing this? Watching a thin person remind the whole world that one of their biggest fears is being fat, is looking like me. Demonizing the word fat while never having the experience of living in a fat body? Fat phobic.
Reminder: being in recovery from an eating disorder or experiencing disordered thoughts or body dysmorphia is not an excuse to be fatphobic. On October 21st, Taylor Swift released her 10th studio album, Midnights. She also released a music video for Antihero. The song and the video depict Taylor's deepest insecurities, citing her depression and body image struggles. The issue with this scene from the music video is the connection of being fat is one of her fears. That's valid, it's her truth. However, the fear is rooted in fatphobia, and the issue is the use of the word fat in stark comparison with the depiction of a thin person and how this connection shames people who exist in larger bodies. When we watch this scene, many of us think, oh my gosh, poor Taylor, her mind thinks she's fat when in reality she is not. Looking at this more closely, we begin to see the underlying implied message. Being fat is bad and shameful. Taylor, of course, likely does not believe this, but we cannot deny the implication is there. People become fat, used as a non-judgmental descriptor for a myriad of valid reasons. I personally gained weight from restricting and binge eating. Some people gain weight once they stop dieting. Others may gain weight because of a medication they take. The why should not matter, though for us to be kind and respectful. We must have compassion for people who are simply existing in life and not causing any harm. There are worse things in life than being fat. Being fat should not be seen as a moral failure. I'm brave for recovering. My health is my own business and ever evolving. My health, like recovery, is my personal journey, not a sole destination. I pulled out my sketchbook from when I was 16 years old, the height of my eating disorder struggles. I remembered I thought similarly to Taylor, as I drew this never good enough screen on a scale. I could have easily drawn the word fat like she did, but I felt so ashamed of the word that I did not. I felt fat even though I was skinny, and I didn't even want to be associated with my fear. My point is that I used to be fatphobic too. Many of us were and are because of the culture. We are a result of what we are taught. This is also a teachable moment. We can unlearn fatphobia. For Taylor to associate herself with the word fat in this context as an adult in recovery who knows people of all shapes and sizes exist and who benefits from thin privilege and witnesses this fatphobic culture where fat people are harassed for just living, misses the mark and is disheartening. With that being said, I want to take a moment to show Taylor compassion. Eating disorders are malicious, isolating, and so awful. It is a valid struggle to have body dysmorphia and a fear of being in a body that is unfamiliar or experience disordered thoughts. This is her truth. At the same time, we can view this dialectically and understand that Taylor holds responsibility for the stereotypes and shame perpetuated by the thin woman on the scale that reads fat. Being fat is a sensitive subject as we have faced discrimination and harassment for existing. I'd also like to take a moment to hold space for Taylor's fans. You are valid to be upset. I believe there is a space where we can ask for accountability and still love and support Taylor Swift. Many of my friends who are fans of Taylor discuss this issue right away, as it is upsetting for us to watch. We are disappointed and feeling confused as we'd hoped Taylor would be more sensitive with this subject. In Taylor's new song, Dear Reader, she asks us to find another guiding light, insinuating that she does not think that she is a perfect role model and that she is human and makes mistakes. I think this is a great opportunity to call in Taylor because she holds a lot of power and influence. We do understand mistakes will be made, and I think we are all very transparent that we still adore Taylor and her hard work. We simply want to be respected and not shamed in a world that already relentlessly does this every single day. Taylor is a safe person for all of us, so it's even that much more saddening to see fatphobia come from someone we look up to and highly respect. And once again, I recognize she is also human. We can all love Taylor Swift and respect and appreciate her craft while at the same time asking for clarifications, sensitivity, self-awareness, and mending from her moving forward.
Since you effing skinny people never listen to fat people when we try to sugarcoat things for you so you might listen, I'm just gonna be mean now. Having an eating disorder is inherently fatphobic. If you have an eating disorder, you are inherently fatphobic and you need to effing work on that. Go effing recovery somewhere away from fat people. Alright, well that was a thing that happened and is likely still happening. Here's a free shot, but despite the anger and some colorful language that I censored because those are some angry posts, I can say that is not the theme right from the start. Here are the following options. 1. Taylor Swift. 2. Anti-hero. 3. Body dysmorphia and eating disorders are dangerous and everyone here is missing the point. Looking at these, I will say they could have been set up a little better. It's sort of a trick question really, as all 3 are correct. Of course, there's one strong theme here that we're looking at, and that would be that people are missing the point, and I intend to explain why. The scale says fat because that's the point. There is no number there because that would miss the point. The point of the scene is that no matter what shows up on the scale, Taylor still feels fat. If anything, I find it odd that the anti-diet, fat-loving movement would read into this wrong. This isn't an attack on anyone, and that is the reason it made it into this video. It's personal, and it's a self-reflection, and it's raw. If there's anyone to blame for perpetuating the perfect body, it isn't Taylor Swift. It's the industry that holds her to the high standard, and the one that gets into everyone's heads. Eating disorders aren't always about weight. Sometimes it's about control, though for each and every single person it is their own narrative, and that is what we should get out of it. The fact that she is human and has similar thoughts about her body as anyone, including myself. And in the end, this allows me to understand that it's something that we all struggle with. I'm not a music reviewer, though this has me tempted to look into the album to break it down some myself. In any case, I see that it's a sore subject. Maybe you need to calm down. I don't care if you have an eating disorder. If you think you're fat and that makes you feel bad, that's fat phobia. This is an honorable mention from the previous. I included it still, however, because that is cold. I thought I had found a safe doctor. She's self-proclaimed to be Haze-aligned. A thread. When a medical issue recently came up, my body became the center of attention, even though she is an expert in EDs and is Haze-aligned. She told me, I know you're sensitive about your body size, but I won't sugarcoat things for you. I stood up for myself, explaining examples of my medical trauma, not sensitivity, I've endured due to weight stigma. She pointed out how my body size added to said problems. She continued to use medical gaslighting to tell me that I was overly sensitive and that she was just being direct with me. She finished our appointment by saying, "We good?" I just nodded my head and burst into tears when I got into my car. No shocker here, she's not actually a Haze practitioner. In fact, she stated, not everyone at every size is healthy. Completely misunderstanding Haze. There is not a single illness out there that only affects fat people, and yet we're treated like we are the plague. If only the world could rid itself of fat people, we'd finally be healthy. It doesn't track. Thin does not equal health. If a doctor recommends weight loss when that is not your medical concern, ask them what they would tell your thin counterpart presenting with the same issue. Something tells me that if someone who is self-proclaimed as a healthy at every size advocate, and they're looking at you and saying that your weight is the issue, and that you're being too sensitive, that it isn't sizeism, fat phobia, fat bias, or any other buzzwords you would proclaim, but just the fact that you are in fact fat, and that fat is in fact affecting your health. Stop dodging the issue and just take the advice. Diet programs will tell you this is too much food for a meal, but in reality this meal contains 820 calories and 28 grams of fat. You still need at least another 1,400 calories and 40 grams of fat for the day. We have been so conditioned to believe that 500 calories for a meal is the upper limit and that anything that is high in fat is bad for us. Diet culture will tell you this meal is too big, too fattening, too many calories. It will tell you to make replacements and swaps and to eat less. But is it too much? If you're a grown-ass adult who moves even just slightly each day, you still need the equivalent of this meal about 3 to 4 times over to meet your nutritional needs for the day. How many times have you ate a meal like this, felt guilty, and then sabotaged your whole day binging or beating yourself up out of shame, when in reality you were just properly nourishing your body the whole time? To what extent are your misconceptions about food interfering with your quality of life? This meal isn't too much. For a lot of people, it's not even enough. Are you ready to dispel all the misinformation you've been carrying for years and develop a healthy relationship with food and with your body? I help my clients learn what their body's nutrition needs are, and my clients to develop the confidence in nourishing themselves so that they can focus on more important things. You can have this freedom too. Link in bio for nutrition counseling. 2 things. This person is claiming 820 calories for a meal is good, and that 1400 on top of that, so that would be around 2,220 calories they're recommending. 2,000 is the usual measurement, and then we take into account activity and height, as well as age, and that only works for so many people. It's not the norm, it's why these things are set for each individual and their needs. And second, they're offering advice? I don't want to offer advice, and this makes me feel like with my own experience that I could. Alright, so a joke. Let's see. How many weight loss experts does it take to screw in a light bulb? 3. 1 to stand on the ladder and keep trying to screw in a burned out light bulb into a socket that doesn't fit. 1 to stand under the ladder and tell him he's doing a great job. And 1 to write a press release declaring that all 3 of them have discovered a revolutionary, completely safe, and effective new way to screw in light bulbs. What? How many healthy at every size experts does it take to screw in a light bulb? The light bulb is fine. The socket is fine. The switch is on and the room is brightly lit. But it still takes several dozen health at every size experts with impeccable academic credentials to publish independent studies proving that there is no need to change the bulb, and those 3 guys with the ladders still won't go away. Okay, so I actually really don't have any kind of response of my own, but I really absolutely loved the top comment, so that's why I'm sharing this. I mean, screwing in a light bulb is a very poor analogy for reputable weight loss science and then their own stupid movement. But they're also doing the worst job possible? Let me give it a shot. How about health at every size experts are standing in a pitch black room insisting that everyone else agree with them that walking around the pitch black room isn't hazardous in any way, even as people around them and they themselves actively walk into walls, twist their ankles, break their legs, and hit their heads, get knocked unconscious, fall downstairs, etc. The haze experts simply state over and over, louder and louder, that there is no evidence that dark rooms cause such injuries, and people in well-lit rooms can get injuries too. And also, you have no idea how hard it is for someone to afford a light bulb, or whether they have to walk 15 miles in the snow uphill both ways to the nearest Home Depot. Or if they haven't ever heard of the internet where they can order one from Amazon. So how dare you judge people who decide helplessly piling on urgent care bills every day is their only viable option? Besides, Thomas Edison was an animal torturing arsehole. So if you believe staggering around in the dark could have negative effects, you obviously hate your pets, you disgusting, dark-phobic bigot.
There is a right and a wrong way to discuss eating disorders. Talking about how scared you are to be fat while fat people can see and hear you, doing so is the wrong way. I don't care how you feel. No amount of lived experience will make that an okay thing to do. Not all feelings are valid. Sometimes the way you feel is indicative of a moral failing, and rather than spread that to others, you should use it as an opportunity to find a way to change that feeling. But mental illness, who effing cares? Your mental illness is not a free pass to get away with poopy behavior. If I was so depressed I hit a baby with a hammer, it would still not be okay to hit a baby with a hammer.
I actually debated on whether or not to include this. Please excuse the self-censoring. I'm just attempting to make it a touch lighter, but that analogy, oh no.
I just made myself so upset reading reviews of Aronofsky's The Whale. As expected, though I hoped for something else, the lead character's fatness is apparently used as a narrative vehicle for the film's themes: horror, pity, disgust, and regret. I mean no disrespect toward Brendan Fraser, but Aronofsky should be effing ashamed of himself. Instead, he's lauded for his daring dehumanization of fat people, because there's nothing thin people love more than feeling superior to us. This film is a strong contender for the Best Picture category, and it hasn't even been publicly released yet. The playwright/screenwriter is not fat, Aronofsky is not fat, and Fraser is not super fat like his character. Rather, as usual, he wears prosthetics. What gives these people the right to tell fat stories? Why does no one care? If the goal of these films wasn't to use fatness as an allegory for disgusting/pathetic personal character, then they would have no problem casting a fat actor. They just need to keep distance from the very effing people they are depicting, or else face how vile and bigoted their art is. Or else look a fat person in the face and say, "They're cowards and I'm angry, and I can't stomach the thought of the thin people that will watch this movie and feel validated in their fat phobia, and all the fat people that will watch it and heartbroken, isolated, objectified, and betrayed. I hate you, Aronofsky." Actual full disrespect to Brendan Fraser, since he chose to be in this movie knowing full well what the movie entailed and chose to wear a fat suit. He is not effing innocent in the slightest, and should absolutely be called out for his own contribution to this bigotry. Even if his fat phobia is internalized, everyone who worked on this movie is at fault. So this is sort of a review of a review. This is so spicy, and they haven't even seen the movie itself. If the movie isn't about something you want to watch, there's always the option of not watching it. Also, there's this thing called interpretation, and it's possible that the reviewers are seeing it differently than you would, but then again, there's also still not watching it. I'm guessing it's the fact that it exists that bothers you so much. I'm not sure about with others, but the talk of this movie has me curious enough to want to see it. One last thing, I've seen this mentioned many times from both sides, but those of the fat acceptance want so badly to see fat and obese actors portrayed by actually heavy people, but I think they don't understand the amount of work and energy it takes to film. Please, let's not promote obesity. STFU. Obesity is based on an utterly irrelevant and completely ignorant BMI calculation. Therefore, obesity isn't even a thing. Obesity is a thing, and I'm actually surprised we have to argue it here. Even if you don't believe in the BMI scale, there's a point in which your body takes on more than it can, and I can't even believe I'm making this argument right now. A non-exhaustive list of words Taylor Swift, aka the musician I've listened to the most this year and do indeed adore, could have used instead of fat on the bathroom scale in her new video to get the same message across about her ED without a side of fat phobia. Unworthy, the problem, unlovable, bad, not good enough, rejected, do better, broken. You get the idea.
Something tells me I might be seeing people bringing this up for a bit. Who knows? Either way, it feels like it's a no-win situation because there's no way this would have appeased anyone, so stop lying. Alright, so that's all the fat logic I have for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. This has been a rather busy week for the fat acceptance and therefore fat logic community. I don't know about you, but I thought they were alright with the word fat because they disliked obese and morbidly obese, but it turns out to be a trigger. As of yesterday, October 26, which is within 1 week of the music video's release, the scene with the bathroom has been cut to only show her standing on the scale with her inner critic looking down to judge her. There's articles all over the place now, citing the idea that it is fatphobic, and I'm just sitting here wishing I had managed to get a copy that still had the original scale in it. I can empathize with the idea of being bothered by something, though this behavior is censorship at its worst. They claim that Taylor Swift's nightmare is to look like them, but personally that's a stretch, because as they can see, she's far from it. Though I guess in the end, they got what they wanted and dogpiled and name-called someone who didn't deserve it, and over something so very small. Either way, it's Halloween this weekend, and I hope you manage to celebrate it, if you do. I hope to have some candy and maybe push the Fatlogic out of my mind for a bit, and you should too. It can get mildly depressing looking for this stuff, because when you look for it, you will find it. Anyway, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and if you're still listening now, you are awesome. Please remember to be kind to someone, even if that someone is yourself. Goodbye.